Hey, what's up, Christ disciples? I told y'all I was coming at you today, and we are here in St. Joseph, Michigan, and it's a little cold. It's like maybe 55 degrees out. Um, I had a word I wanted to talk to you about today, coming from Matthew 22, 1 through 14. We're not going to give you the full effect today. We're just going to just briefly touch on something that I was hit with today, out the blue. And this passage of scripture came to mind. Um, and so, anyway, let's get right into it. Jesus spoke to them again in parables, saying, "The kingdom of heaven is like a king who prepared a wedding banquet for his son. He sent his servants to those who had been invited to the banquet to tell them to come, but they refused to come. Then he sent some more servants and said, tell those who have been invited that I have prepared my dinner. My oxen, my fattened calf have been butchered and everything is ready. Come to the wedding banquet." But they paid no attention and went off. One to his field, another to his business. The rest seized the servants, mistreated them, and killed them. The king was enraged. He sent his army and destroyed those murderers and burned their city. Now, this is the part we want to focus on. Then he said to his servants, "The wedding banquet is ready, but those I invited did not deserve to come. Go to the street corners and invite to the banquet anyone you find." So his servants went out into the streets and gathered all the people they could find, both good and bad, and the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to see the guests, he noticed a man who was there was not wearing his wedding clothes. "Friend," he said, "how did you get here? How did you get in here without wedding clothes?" The man was speechless. Then the king told his attendants, "Tie him hand and foot, throw him outside into the darkness where there should be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are invited, but few are chosen." So what is it that I was that led me to this passage of scripture? Uh, I'll give you a short version of the story. We're heading out, coming down, and it's with any kind of a trip. You tend to forget some things, right? So we were going to go to church today, being the Sabbath. We were going to go and worship our God. So we, get to the hotel, and I'm unloading everything into the room, and my wife said, "Honey, where's your suit?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, where's the suit? I mean, I got what's there." "No, I had your suit hanging up." And immediately we knew we had left the suit. So I'm like, well, what I'm going to do? I can dishonor God by running over to the store, buying up some stuff. For what? Just to go into a place of worship, a church, and have on the right attire. You see what I mean? So how does this fit with the parable? Because I thought, or we think, that having a suit on or a dress is the right attire. So how dare I go into a church with jeans and a Calvin Klein shirt? Okay? How dare I? The king would literally throw me out because I'm not dressed properly. Yeah. Many of you do not frequent churches for the very same reason, because of the attire. It's so funny. My wife and I were my daughter and I was just talking about this yesterday, the day before yesterday. We were talking about how a lot of these trendy churches now are dressing down, and you got pastors up there in, casual wear, and they're catching heat from folk about the fact that they are dishonoring and disrespecting the house of God by the clothes that they're wearing. Are they trying to throw a Matthew 22 at these pastors? Who's right? Who's wrong? Does dress matter? Or should it just be important that I'm in the house of God, regardless of what I wear? See, I think many have misapplied Matthew 22, and they think that a suit is the wedding garment that Christ is talking about in this parable, when in fact Christ is talking about righteous character. He's talking about his character. The king, his father, sent out an invitation by way of his son. Okay? Read the passage. His son was coming with a wedding garment that was appropriate, and that was his own righteousness to impart unto the believer. And then when the believer stands before the Father, he's dressed in the wedding garment, ready to meet his husband, her husband, the king. The wedding between the Father, Son, and the bride, being the church, unites us all with the king. And so we cannot stand before God in our own character, in our own garb. Now, back up to what I'm talking about. So if I go into the house of God, even as a pastor, and I dress down, I'm not breaking or guilty of Matthew 22. I'm simply supposed to be dressed in the righteousness of Christ. That's what God is concerned with. Now, I'm not frowning on you if you wear a suit. I wear a suit every day. This is the one day, first time in my life, okay, in my Christian walk, that I walked in the house of God in jeans, going to church. Never happened. 25, 30 years, never happened. Now, what tends to happen, if I had not been at a very, very young, youthful church, I would have gotten looks that would have been able to cut with a knife, because I'm not wearing the right garment. See, I need for you to understand that the righteous garment that we need to be wearing is a right character, a character that is straight from the throne, straight from the Son of God. When we dress in his character, no one cares about the clothes that you wear. How are you treating me? Are you loving towards me? Do you have the righteousness of Christ on you? And therefore treat me as an honored guest. Because truly, if I walk up in the house of God with jeans and a t-shirt on in Christ's righteousness, I'm more welcome than you in your suit, in your dress. I think sometimes we put too much on the outer and we lack the same amount of attention on the inner. If we focus as much on the inner as we do on the outer, maybe our churches would be flowing over with people. Maybe they'd be so packed out that we couldn't even find enough seats for folk. That's what's happening in these other churches that got it, that understand it. I want for this venue to be one in which you can ask questions. Send me your questions, send me your concerns, and let's talk it out. Let's wrap it out. I want for you to also experience the same love that I've experienced from my father. Elder Kemp, Inner City Elder, St. Joseph, Michigan, coming at you. Have a great Sabbath.